The Lady with the Dog by Anton Chekhov. The Lady with the Dog is based on Anton Chekhov's most famous short story of the same title. Two separate married holidaymakers, Dmitri Gurov and Anna Sergeyevna, go on a solo vacation to the Crimean resort town of Alta. There, they find a true romance that was to be a case of right place, wrong time. In Alta, Gurov soon becomes bored and starts to look for a little holiday romance. He has never loved his wife and is keen for yet another opportunity to have fun on the side. One day, the mysterious Anna appears on the boardwalk. The lady with the dog. She walks alone and refuses to make new acquaintances, but Gurov manages to get her to talk with him. Soon, the two dive into an affair that lasts for beyond the sunny Crimea. They go their own ways back to Moscow and a provincial Russian town, but can't stop thinking about each other. And so, this holiday romance changes their lives forever. Just like Gurov and Anna, Anton Chekhov fell in love with a woman while in Alta, one Olga Nipper. And just like the forlorn romance in the story, Chekhov and Nipper would stroll together along the Alta promenade only to depart and live apart. Perhaps while writing this story about two already married lovers, Chekhov wanted to explore his own feelings of falling in love at the wrong time. Writing this story suffering from tuberculosis, maybe Chekhov sensed that, like Gurov and Anna, he had fallen in love too late. Okay, so this is the discussion that we have been making about the story Lady with the Dog by Anton Chekhov, and here you have two major characters, Dmitri Gurov and Anna Sergeyevna. This story was written in Russian language and later it was translated into English. This is the story about the pure romance and the fidelity under question mark. Okay, welcome to my YouTube channel Bachelor and Master English. Today, as you have heard, we are talking about The Lady with the Dog by Anton Chekhov. So, in our today's discussion, we shall have the story at a glance, then there will be summary. I have narrated the summary with you, and there will be very short and precise summary. There will be point-wise breakdown of the story, and the central idea would be explored, and the comments will be made, and there will be a list of notable quotations that any story reader of this story, celebrated story, The Lady with the Love, The Lady with the Dog by Anton Chekhov, that Vladimir Nabokov has said the best story, one of the best stories ever written. The story has not been, such a story has not been written at as he claims that. So, such comments will be made here, and I am sure you will accompany me till the end of this video. If you are new to my channel, I request you to subscribe my channel, and if you have already been a subscriber, please share this video and recommend about these videos within this Bachelor and Master English YouTube channel to your friends and fellows. I want you and your participation, your active participation, to add one dimension of my literary studies, and I want to contribute in the field of literature and language teaching here, especially how literature is interpreted, how it is explored, how the meaning is derived, how the interpretations can be made. Okay. So, these are the points to be noted here, and here is the story at a glance. This is Anton Chekhov, short fiction published in Russian in 1899 and later it was published in English in 1903. Actually, some writers say that there is no plot at all, but there is a plot. In my reading, I have just mentioned here, an unhappily married man sees a pretty woman with a dog sitting on a bench and tries to say to hello to the dog first. The woman is married and very unhappy. She falls in love with her married seducer, who initially is only interested in having a nice time. The affair continues with both of them suffering and he falls in love too. They both feel transformed by love but do not know how to continue. And the characters, as I already mentioned here, Dmitri Gurov and Anna Sergeyevna. Theme of the story here. The main theme is love itself and youth, breakdown of old social order and morality, and because they were thinking about marriage and other things, unhappy marriages and sacred love appears. So, that bring or leads to some certain disaster in the relationship that one has with the family, and when the couple made in arranged marriage do not like each other, they are in search of the partners who really love them, and they want to steal the heart of some ladies, and they want their heart to be stolen, and that is the point. And there is old social order and morality, conflict of public and private life. So, we have this here in the story here. Here is a short summary. The Lady with the Dog is a short story by Anton Chekhov, in which Dmitri Gurov meets a lovely woman named Anna at a seaside hotel. Gurov falls in love with Anna and they have an affair. Alone on holiday, Gurov meets a gentle woman named Anna Sergeyevna. Despite his contemptuous and sexist attitude toward all women, Gurov falls in love with Anna and they have an affair. At the end of the summer, they part ways. And in Moscow, Gurov assumes that he will forget about Anna. He doesn't. So, he seeks her out and they eventually rekindle their love and find some happiness together. So, this is very short summary in points here, in 4 points. And now, let us go with the summary. This is very short summary again. I narrated some part of summary earlier when I began my today's discussion, and here is very short summary. On holidays in Alta, Moscovite banker Dmitri Gurov contrives to meet a young woman who walks her dog. She is Anna Sergeyevna, trapped in loveless marriage to a lackey. He is unhappy in an arranged marriage. With neither spouse at hand, Dmitri and Anna begin an affair. After a short time, she returns to Saratov, he to Moscow, believing it's goodbye forever. All winter, he is miserable, enervated, distracted by tristesse. In desperation, he contrives to go to Saratov, surprising her at a concert. Fearing discovery in her hometown, she promises to come to Moscow. With some moment of unresolved uncertainty, Chekhov brings to a close his penetrating study of human love and human destiny. Will they cast aside reputation to live together, or will theirs be an affair of infrequent encounters in hotel rooms? Okay. Here is very short summary now, and let us go with this part of the story. Point wise breakdown and I will be discussing the story in Nepali here. The Lady with the Dog is perhaps Chekhov's best known and certainly one of his best love stories. It exemplifies the author's subtle and powerful style, as Chekhov is economic with language and never says more than he needs. He conveys emotional complexity in just a few words, thus preserving the intensity of his character's feelings. For instance, on first seeing Anna at the theatre in her honeymoon, Chekhov expresses Dmitri's romantic yearnings with the passage, "See, this little woman, in no way remarkable, lost in a provincial crowd, with a vulgar lorgnette in her hand, filled his whole life now and was his sorrow and his joy. He thought and dreamed." The author writes as though he is painting a canvas, producing a work that is grand in scope yet intimate in feel. The author uses colors to convey both the changing spirits and feelings of the characters, as they veer from the grand impressive to the muted and prosaic. For example, the aging Dmitri here is described as graying, and he often wears grey suits, whereas the sea at Alta is suffused with color, as the water was of a certain warm lilac hue, and there was a golden streak from the moon upon it. Chekhov presents Alta as a romantic oasis for Anna and Dmitri, a place of color, freedom and intimacy that they cannot hope to receive or recreate elsewhere. The lovers worry about what they mean to one another. Anna frets that Dmitri thinks of her only as a common woman, while Dmitri thinks that Anna is beguiled by a false impression of him as a kind, unexceptionally lofty man, because both recognize that their relationship is founded on past disappointments and future hopes, as well as on present desires. Chekhov thus plays with our implicit belief that characters do not exist beyond their narrative framework clearly. Anna and Dmitri are people defined by the past and their dreams for the future, as much as they are by the short period of their lives conveyed here. As the editor Donald Raphael has noted, The Lady with the Dog talks more about beginnings than it does endings. There is no straightforward linear progression in Chekhov's narrative. Readers are called to question what has happened outside of its bounds and to wonder at the lives its character will continue to lead. Indeed, in order to understand this tale, we have to guess at what has happened before the events described and what will happen after them. Dmitri may be interpreted as an aging seducer entering the twilight, his womanizing years, who dupes Anna just as he realizes that he has deceived himself for many years. However, the protagonist could also be understood as a man searching for conviction, as someone who enchanted and ultimately redeemed by the innocent romanticism of his young lover. The tale itself is riddled with ambiguity. We see that Anna rekindles Dmitri's desire for life, but also that Dmitri's love for her complicates as well as tarnishes his view of home, because Dmitri remembers the vistas of Alta as being boundless in their magnificence and beauty. So Moscow seems to him endlessly dreary, as though he were cooped up in a madhouse or in penal servitude. Chekhov suggests that for Dmitri, the world of love and of woman is not straightforward, and indeed, Dmitri's devotion to the female sex or lower race is rewarded by confusion and a faint hope in future salvation. The story ends on a typical note of ambiguity, as Dmitri recognizes that he is living two lives, one open, seen and known by all who cared to know, and another running its courts in secret. The only way the couple can resolve their fears is to acknowledge that they are poised at the beginning of a new and splendid life, albeit one that they will not openly enjoy for a long time to come. That's the points to be discussed regarding the story here. We have, and now it's time for me to share the description or discussion of the story in Nepali. The Lady with the Dog by Anton Chekhov. कुकुरसँग देखा पर्ने युवती एन्टोन चेखभद्वारा लिखित एक लघु कथा हो। हुन त यो लघु कथा भन्दा लामो छ, 15-16 पेज नै यसमा चाहिँ प्रयोग गरिएको छ। अब यो कथा त्यति लघु होइन, त्यति अब लगभग लघु उपन्यास भन्न पनि मिल्छ यसलाई। यो कथा पहिलो पटक सन् 1989 मा प्रकाशित भएको थियो र 14 वर्षपछि सन् 1903 मा अंग्रेजी भाषामा प्रकाशित भएको थियो। भ्लादिमिर नाबोकोभ एउटा साहित्यकार पनि हुन्। उनी रुसबाट अमेरिकामा गएर साहित्य पढाउने मान्छे पनि थिए। अनि त्यतिखेरका अब लोलिता भन्ने उपन्यास लेख्ने उपन्यासकार नै भ्लादिमिर नाबोकोभ। अब यसरी उनको परिचय हुन्छ। उनले के भने यो कथालाई अझसम्म लेखिएको कथा मध्येको एक उत्कृष्ट कथा हो। यस्तो कथा चाहिँ अझसम्म लेखिएको पनि छैन। अब न भूत न भविष्य नभनौँ, तर भूतकालमा लेखिएको थिएन। त्यस्तो कथा मध्येको एउटा उत्कृष्ट कथा हो। त्यसको तुलना अरू कुनैसँग हुन सक्दैन भनेर उनले यसको दाबी पनि गरेका छन्। त्यो खालको विश्लेषण गरेका छन्। अब यस कथाको छोटो समीक्षामा त्यसरी भन्यो भने चेखभका कथाहरू धेरै छन्। त्यो मध्येको एउटा प्रख्यात कथा आफ्नो पाल्तु कुकुरसँग देखा पर्ने युवती जो विवाहित छन्। उनी आफ्नो श्रीमानसँग त्यति खुसी छैनन्। उनको वैवाहिक दाम्पत्य जीवन पनि त्यति राम्रो छैन। श्रीमानसँग उनको चाहिँ दिल खुला छैन। यस अर्थले धनी श्रीमान छन् तर चाहिँ अलिकति दास मनोवृत्तिका छन्। त्यो भएर श्रीमानसँग उनी चाहिँ अब दिगदार लाएर आफ्नो कुकुर लिएर अब यहाँ चाहिँ मस्को नजिकै एल्टा सहरमा उनीहरू चाहिँ घुम्न जान्छन्। अब त्यहाँ चाहिँ कुकुर लिएर हिँडेकी युवती भनेर धेरै मान्छेले उसको एउटा चियो पनि गर्छन्। त्यही क्रममा अब यहाँ यो पात्र मुख्य छ दिमित्रीले उनलाई भेट्छ। अनि पहिला चाहिँ कुकुरसँग उसको पहुँच हुँदा कुकुरसँग उसले चासो बढाउँदा पछि त्यो केटीसँग नै उसले चाहिँ एउटा सम्बन्ध राख्छ। अनि दुवैको चाहिँ बीचमा उसको यता श्रीमती घर त्यति चाहिँ अब 40 कट वरिपरिको मान्छे हो हैन, 40। तर उसको चाहिँ सम्बन्ध कस्तो छ भन्दाखेरि धेरै महिलाहरूलाई चाहिँ उसले प्रयोग गर्ने फाल्ने चाहिँ अब एउटा प्रयोग गर्ने हिसाबले प्रयोग गर्ने क्रममा यो एनासँग पनि उसको सम्बन्ध हुन्छ। उसले पनि सोचे तिमी यस्तै लगाउने मान्छे हौ, धेरै मान्छे महिलाहरूसँग तिमी खेल्छौ प्रयोग गर्छौ भनेपछि उसले चाहिँ होइन म अरू महिला जस्तो तिमीमा त्यस्तो गर्दैन, अब तिमी चाहिँ मेरो लागि विशेष महिला हो भनेर चाहिँ एक खालको चाहिँ उसलाई विश्वास दिन्छ। अनि त्यसपछि उनीहरूको बिचमा एउटा मनमा जुन दमेको एउटा चाहिँ भावना छ, उनीहरूको चाहिँ अब विवाहेतर सम्बन्ध पनि हुन्छ। यी जुन विवाह एकअर्कासँग आफ्नो श्रीमतीसँग चाहिँ आफ्नो श्रीमानसँग नभइकन फेरि बीचमा भेटेका अर्को जोडीसँग उसले चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ यौन सम्बन्ध भएको हुन्छ। त्यो यौन सम्बन्ध त्यतिखेरको समाजमा पाच्य हुँदैन। एउटासँग बिहे गरेर अर्को केटीसँग हिँड्ने, अर्को केटासँग हिँड्ने त्यतिखेरको समाजमा पाच्य थिएन। त्यही खालको चाहिँ एउटा पद्धति, त्यही खालको एउटा चाहिँ कथावस्तु समकालीन साहित्यमा त्यतिखेर प्रयोग भएको थियो। फ्रान्समा, रुसमा, अन्य ठाउँहरूमा पनि यसरी प्रयोग गर्न थालेका थिए। यस्तै हो। अब यो चाहिँ यो कथामा के छ भन्दाखेरि एउटा कुकुरसँग देखा पर्ने युवतीको एक निरस विवाहमा फँसेको बैंकर र एक जवान युवतीको बीचमा चलेको अमर्यादित सम्बन्धको कथा यसमा पढ्न पाइन्छ, यसमा चर्चा हुन्छ। अब म यो कथाको चाहिँ नेपालीमा तपाईहरुलाई सारांश चर्चा। दिमित्रिच नामक 40 कटेको लोग्ने मान्छे एउटा कडा स्वभावको स्वास्नी 12 वर्षे छोरी र 2वटा स्कुल पढ्ने छोराको बाबु हो। स्वास्नी आफूलाई बौद्धिक ठान्छे, तर ऊ भने त्यसलाई सङ्कीर्ण मगजकी अलि छेद स्वभावकी ठान्थ्यो। स्वास्नीसँग भिज्न डराउँथ्यो र परै रहन खोज्थ्यो। ऊ जागिरे थियो, ब्याङ्कमा काम गर्थ्यो। छुट्टी मनाउन ऊ मात्रै, अब परिवारका सदस्य नलिकन ऊ एल्टा नामक समुद्री तटमा 15 दिनदेखि आनन्दमा थियो। यतिकैमा एक दिन 5 दिनदेखि त्यही ठाउँमा आएकी एउटी महिलालाई उसले देख्यो। त्यसप्रति उसको आँखा आकर्षित भयो। पिटर्सबर्गमा जन्मेर यस भन्ने ठाउँमा बस्ने त्यो विवाहित आइमाई पनि बिरामी परेको बहाना गरी लोग्नेलाई छोडेर त्यहाँ आएकी रहेछ। उसको एउटा सानो सेतो कुकुर थियो, अन्ना सर्गेयभना उसको नाम, अन्ना सर्गेयभना। त्यो आइमाई बैँसालु, राम्री र अति उच्च कुलकी लाग्थी। उसको हेर्दाखेरि उसको लवाई खवाई, उसको शैली, उसको प्रस्तुति, सबै कुरा ऊ अलि खानदानकी र अलि सभ्य देखिन्थे। बिस्तारै गुरुवले त्यो आइमाईसँग परिचय बढायो। उनीहरू एक्लै साँझपख डुल्न लागे। खान, हेर्न, घुम्न, समुद्री किनारमा एक्लै भिडमा एकान्तमा दृश्य हेर्न, गुनगुनाउने गर्दा गर्दै उसले पक्रेर माया गर्न थाल्यो। अनेकपल्ट ऊ होटलमा बसेकी थिए। आफ्नो दिल खोले उनीहरूले। आइमाई नयाँ पाराले जिन्दगी बिताउन चाहने लोग्ने थियो। अलि तल्लो दास मनोवृत्तिकी, बडा दुःख कुरो। आइमाईलाई उसलाई त्यो हाइफाई चाहिने, श्रीमान चाहिँ दास मनोवृत्तिको। अनि जोडीको कुरा नमिलेपछि घरमा कसरी शान्त रहने? जबसम्म महिलाको अथवा पुरुषको मन शान्त हुँदैन तबसम्म त्यो घर चाहिँ राम्रो हुँदैन। यहाँ पनि यिनै दुईजनाको, अब जुन ब्याङ्कमा काम गर्ने दिमित्री र अब चाहिँ ठुलो एउटा धनी साउकी श्रीमती भएकी एना बिचमा पनि अब राम्रो सम्बन्ध नहुनुको कारण, उनीहरूको आफ्नो परिवारको बिचमा राम्रो सम्बन्ध नहुनुको कारण के हो त भन्दाखेरि अब एकअर्काले आफूलाई चाहिँ बुझ्न नसक्नु, यो श्रीमानले श्रीमतीलाई बुझ्न नसक्नु, उनीहरूको बिचमा वास्तविक प्यार नहुनु, खास त्यही हो। गुरुवसँग अनेक आइमाई आए गए। 3-4-5 वटा अनेकसँग उसको भेट भयो। यो आइमाई अझ भिन्दै छ, अझै पुगेन, माया पुगेन भन्छे र उसलाई पनि सर्वस्त्र ठान्छे, सर्वस्व। रातभरि पायरमा र वरपर बिताएपछि कयौँ दिन यस्तै भएपछि यसबाट लोग्नेको खबर आयो। आमा बिरामी छन्, तँ आऊ भनेपछि ऊ हिँडी रेलमा चढेर, प्रिय तिमीसँग म एकपल्ट भेट्न चाहन्छु, फेरि पनि यो जीवनमा भनेर चाहिँ उसलाई एउटा बिछोडका अथवा विदाईका हात उसले चाहिँ हल्लाए। सायद उसलाई चाहिँ अब यो पछि फेरि भेट होला नहोला हैन, आजसँगै भोलि त कहाँ हो कहाँ भन्ने चाहिँ आज भेट नहोला, तर पनि मनमा चाहिँ भेट हुने चाहना रहेछ। त्यो अन्तिम होला उसको उनीहरूको भेट। तर उसले के गरी अनि रेलमा चढी, त्यसपछि अनि उसलाई चाहिँ एउटा हात हल्लाएर अनि जान खोजी। गाडी चल्यो। गुरु पनि अब उसको पनि बिदाको समय सकिएपछि ऊ मस्को फिर्यो। उही स्वास्नी, उही छोराछोरी, उही जागिर, अनि तिनै साथी, त्यही जीवनशैली। दैनिक रिक्तता सिवाय केही छैन, केवल रुखो रिक्तता। कहिलेकाहीँ उसलाई छटपटी हुन्छ, त्यो विचित्रको प्रेमले छोए जस्तो हुन्छ। कसलाई भन्नु? स्वास्नीसँग प्रसन्न निकाल्ने हो भने आँखीमा बटारेर तिमी कन्या राशिको स्वाट, अब चाहिँ के भनेर हुँदा नहुँदा कुरा चाहिँ एउटा शङ्काको कुरा मात्रै गर्छ। कसलाई भन्नु? त्यस्ता कुरा नगर भन्छु। अनि ऊ खुम्चिरह्यो। गर्दा गर्दै एन्नाको प्रेम परिपक्व भएर उठे जस्तो लाग्यो उसको छातीमा। राति सम्झिन्छ, दिनमा पनि सम्झिन्छ, कतै चैन छैन। एकछिन मन थिर छैन उसको। अब बौला जस्तो हुने स्थिति आइपुग्यो उसको। अब उसको छायाले 24 घण्टा खिचिरहन्छ। तब एक दिन म पिटर्सबर्ग जान्छु। एक दिन वो पिटर्सबर्ग जान्छ। कुनै कामले भने हिँड्यो। कुनै कामले म पिटर्सबर्ग जान्छु भनेर हिँड्यो। यसको टिकट काटेर त्यहाँ पुग्यो। होटलमा ऊ कोठा लियो। नभन्दै एन्नाको धनी लोग्ने र उनीहरूको परिवारलाई जसले पनि चिन्दो रहेछ त्यो ठाउँमा। कुल्लीले उसको घर देखाइदियो। भित्र कुकुर छन्, वरिपरि पर्खाल। कोही झ्याल खोल्दैन, तल र माथि गऱ्यो केही देखिन्न, झट्ट पसौँ भन्यो छुट्टीको दिन उसको लोग्नेले थाहा पाउला। ऊ फेरि होटलमै फिर्यो। बेचैन भइरहेको बेला त्यहाँ नाचघरमा नाच पहिलो प्रदर्शन हुने सूचना आयो र त्यहाँ अब त्यो नाचमा जाउँ, त्यहाँ भेट हुन्छ कि भनेर ऊ त्यहाँ गयो। मनोरञ्जन पनि हुने, उसलाई भेट्न पनि हुने। नभन्दै आफू बसेको जुन सिटीको लहरमा जुङ्गे लोग्नेको छेउमा एना पो बसिरहेकी। उसको बोल्ने आँट त आएन, मुटु उम्ल्यो अनि भयले मुटु उम्ल्यो। बीचमा एकछिनको मध्यान्तरमा उसको लोग्ने अब चुरोट तान्ने कोठातिर लाग्यो। त्यहाँ चाहिँ एउटा सार्वजनिक रूपमा चाहिँ चुरोट तान्न पाइन्थ्यो। त्यो कोठामा गएर मात्रै चुरोट पिउनु पायो। अनि त्यहाँ गुरुवले छेउमा गएर शुभ सन्ध्या भन्दा एना भएर आश्चर्यले चकित परे। तत्कालै दुवै पाखा निस्केर अँध्यारो प्यासेजमा, अँध्यारो बाटोमा पुगे। उनले अनेक पटक चुमे। ऊ रोई र प्रतिज्ञा गरी, गुरुव, म रात दिन तिम्रै सपनामा छु। तिमी बेगर म बाँच्न सक्दिनँ, म कहिल्यै खुसी हुन्न। आज छाडिदेऊ, म अवश्य तिमीलाई भेट्न मस्कोमै आउनेछु। नभन्दै लोग्नेले पत्याए पनि नपत्याए पनि ऊ बिरामीको शिकायत गरेर ऊ मस्को हिँडेर स्लाभियान्स्की बजारको एउटा होटलमा डेरा लिएर गुरुवलाई बोलाए। छोरी स्कुल पुर्याउन गुरुव आयो। त्यस्तै एना काममा निस्क्यो। एनाकोमा पस्यो। कहिले नफुत्कने गरी उनीहरूले अङ्कमाल गरे। उसले सोध्यो, कस्तो छ तिमीलाई प्रिय? उसको बोली निस्केन, खाली आँसुका बलिन्धारा। उसले सम्झायो अनि बल्ल ऊ शान्त भई। अनि अनेकौँ प्रेमका प्रसङ्गहरू उसले सम्झ्यो। यो उमेरमा उसले तृप्तिकारक प्रेम पायो। तर के दुवैजना अपराधी चाहिँ बस्नु? कति लुकेर बस्ने यो रहस्यमय अन्धकारमा? यो सत्य छैन, यो सही छैन। ऊ बेगर बस्न नसक्ने, अर्को पनि अर्को बेगर बस्न नसक्ने, दुवैजना एक अर्को नभई बाँच्नै नसक्ने। त्यो परिपक्व प्रेममा किन अर्को झन्डा लोग्ने र अनावश्यक स्वास्नी थपिएका? किन यी पन्छी जोडा पक्रिएर बेग्ला बेग्लै पिञ्जरामा हालिएका? ऊ दुखित भयो। फेरि अठोट गर्यो, अब सँगै बस्नु छ, कुनै उपाय खोज्नु छ र दुवैसँगै हुन सक्नु छ, दुवैसँगै हुन सकियोस्। अनि त्यही योजना, त्यही विचार गर्न लागि उनीहरू होटलतिर पसे। अनि त्यसपछि अब समाज चिर्न गाह्रो थियो। त्यतिखेरको समाज, त्यतिखेरको एउटा संस्कार, त्यो जुन एउटा पद्धति जुन थियो त्यसै चाहिँ चिर्न सकिँदैन थियो। त्यही भएर उनीहरूले पनि अब एउटा क्रान्ति गर्नु छ, एउटा विद्रोह गर्नु छ। जुन एउटा चाहिँ जुन यस्तो एउटा मागी जोगी गरेको विवाह, मागी विवाहले बसाएको जोडी र प्रेम विवाहले बसाएको जोडी, मागी विवाहले बसाएको जोडी त्यति चाहिँ टिकाउ भएन। अब प्रेम विवाहले नै चाहिँ प्रेमबाटै गरेको जोडी चाहिँ जमाउनु पर्यो भन्ने खालको चाहिँ बनाउनलाई त्यतिखेर अब मान्छेहरूले श्रीमती आफूसँग घरमा हुँदाखेरि अरू केटीहरूलाई चाहिँ कोठामा लुकाएर राख्ने। अनि त्यसपछि अब केटीहरूको आर्थिक अवस्था कमजोर भएको अवस्थामा उनीहरू चाहिँ आफ्नो रूप र आफ्नो भैँस, आफ्नो यौवनलाई चाहिँ डिक राखेर उनीहरूले चाहिँ पैसा लिएर चाहिँ एउटा यौनको चाहिँ सेवा प्रदान गर्ने, यस्ता चाहिँ कुराहरू पनि समाजमा नभएका होइनन्। त्यो समाजमा एउटा त्यस्तो खालको चाहिँ कुरा भइरहेको थियो। जब मान्छेहरूको विवाह चाहिँ एउटा सन्तोषजनक अवस्थामा आउँदैन, जब चाहिँ श्रीमान श्रीमती आफू चाहिँ खुसीको रूपमा चाहिँ खुसी भएर विवाह गरेर दाम्पत्य जीवन बिताउन सक्दैनन्, तबसम्म कसैको जीवन पनि गतिलो हुँदैन। कुरा त्यही नै हो। द्याट्स अल विथ द स्टोरी द लेडी विथ द डग बाई एन्टोन चेखभ इन नेपाली. नाउ let us go there is a theme. The theme of the story is love, as I already mentioned here. what sort of love? The love between a man and a woman who are already married. Kind of love that's different. The middle-aged man named Gurov has a wife whom he does not love and children, and a higher class woman named Anna who is already married to a servile husband. She is not satisfied with her husband, that Gurov is not satisfied with his wife. Both of them are living the life in a cage. They want to free, they want to fly freely, but they are trapped in the cage. They are like birds in the cage. Both are unsatisfied with the love they had expected from their spouse. So, they acquaint, meet secretly and feel a bond of irresistible, pure, perfect and complete love between them. But that something that the character is different. Then they even decide to abandon their cages, come out of the secret life and live and love openly. This shows that love is not guaranteed with marriage, rather it is the union of two compatible souls, not of bodies, first to meet and sleep together. Okay. Although Gurov lightly enters into an adulterous love affair with Anna that soon turns painful and complicated, it would be misleading to say that the main theme of The Lady with the Dog, Pet Dog, is one of moral corruption or sin. In fact, it is through this adulterous affair that Gurov discovers his humanity and even his moral center. Gurov has already taken women for granted and has treated them without compassion or respect. During the course of his affair with Anna, however, he becomes more serious, and although Gurov lightly enters into an adulterous love affair with Anna that soon turns painful and complicated, it would be misleading to say that the main theme of The Lady with the Pet Dog is moral corruption or sin. In fact, it is through this adulterous affair Gurov discovers his humanity and even his moral center. Now, let us go with the comments. The Lady with the Dog, a short story by Anton Chekhov, describes an adulterous affair between an unhappily married Moscow banker and a young married woman, which begins while both are vacationing alone in Alta. It is one of Chekhov's most famous pieces of short fiction. Vladimir Nabokov, who was a Russian-American novelist, poet, translator and entomologist, they considered it to be one of the greatest short stories ever written. Dmitri Gurov, an insensitive Lothario, is holidaying in Alta when the unimposing Anna Sergeyevna and her little white dog slip quietly into his world. The excitement of the romantic attraction, the entanglement of forbidden love, and the sorrow of saying goodbye captivates the reader. But it is truly farewell forever? Is it truly farewell forever? This thought-provoking short story makes heart fond of any person. The protagonist of Anton Chekhov's short story, Dmitri Gurov, had to wait for days to find out what The Lady with the Dog was, but you don't. The situation indeed, the entire plot of the story is obvious, even banal, and its merit as work of art lies in the artistry with which Chekhov has preserved in the story a balance between the poetic and prosaic, and in the careful characterization dependent upon the use of half tones. The story comprises 4 parts. Part first describes the initial meeting in Alta. Part second, the consummation of the affair and the remaining time in Alta. Part third Gurov returns to Moscow and his visit to Anna town, and part 4, Anna's visit to Moscow. The lady with the dog is not only crucial for understanding his motivations, but is helpful for the reader to gain a better understanding of the structure of Chekhov's short story in general. The lady with the dog, namely the significance of Gurov's two flights of emotion. The first with Anna at Orenda, the second outside the medical club at Moscow. These two moments of intense feelings are crucial to understanding Gurov's motivations and illustrate the importance of this kind of emotional flight to the structure of Chekhov's short fiction. Love affairs was another emotion used in contemporary writing depicted in the story. That in the 19th century mostly the love affair was the concern, and the marriage, and those people who are married are not expected to have an affair with another person. If somebody has that, and that would be a matter of question, and that's the darker side of infidelity is depicted in major characters' adultery here. The lady with the dog is regarded as one of the greatest of all stories, but it is not an easy story to interpret, because Chekhov's chief aim in writing the story is to be as natural as possible and to respect people and things for what they are, rather than turning them into symbols and forcing them to convey a certain idea or message. Chekhov is reluctant to put himself above his characters and manipulate them. This story heralded the moral dilemmas of the coming 20th century. Marital infidelity was not exactly new in literature at the time. Marriages were often arranged at this time, and people married very young and often very social and economic advancement. Consequently, many marriages were unhappy, and divorce was not usually an option. In discussing Chekhov's stories, he points out that all the traditional rules of storytelling have been broken. There is no problem, no regular climax, no point at the end. That what Vladimir Nabokov talks about this story, and he claims that this story has been or can be, or this story is one of the greatest story ever written, that there is no other story of this kind. All the traditional rules of storytelling have been broken. There is no problem, no regular climax, no point at the end, and it is one of the greatest stories ever written. One might wonder how such an uneventful and inconclusive story could be considered great. It appears that Nabokov believes that its greatness lies in its trueness to the beauty and sadness of life. It is that sort of story that highlights the beauty and sadness that these occur in life. If one is looking for the kind of entertainment which helps one escape life, one will not find it in Chekhov, for he invites his readers. Perhaps the most famous criticism of the story comes from Vladimir Nabokov, the Russian immigrant who taught literature at Cornell University and wrote the classic American novel Lolita. Okay. This is the discussion of that story, The Lady with the Dog. There are so many dimensions of interpretation, but it is not possible to discuss this within this short video. But I tried myself to present that part of discussion here, and here is reader's review. The Lady with the Dog, it is an extremely important work undeniably telling a tale of adultery in Russia, where it was punishable offense from the Criminal Code of 1845, is probably nothing short of bold only a few years thereafter. At the end, the tale is about how they actually try to get closure and attempt to discard their previous lives for a new beginning. Truth be told, it is not likable and stunning in this time. However impactful may the story be, I did not find it special. Well, it does have its ups, it does have its downs. Chekhov is a master budgetary storyteller, and he did here what he does, not waste a word. He does not write unnecessary words. He has that economy of words in his writing. He keeps the tale compact, and the deliberately brief delineation he applied only increases the intensity of the emotional quotient of the characters, and the characters are just that close to reality, as is the fact that I am writing this review just before sitting for an exam. This story looks on its surface like another forbidden love story, but its power is in how it breaks down this situation. A man who is becoming middle-aged and has to decide whether he is going to be a cold-hearted playboy or decide to let someone in his heart. Finally, A Woman with a Dog is in one of those typical 19th century loveless marriages that 19th century drama is built on. She has to decide whether to accept fate or make the fateful decision to go for her own happiness. In a way, this play is very Chekhov, though it also reminds me a lot of that other great playwrights of the 19th century realism, Henrik Ibsen, especially well known for his drama The Doll's House, Edda Gabler. This is not my favorite Chekhov story, but it is an excellent introduction to his style and how he thinks about the short story. He is favorite short story writer to many readers because he treats the short story format with the same respect that most people treat the novel. There are many bits of truth in this story and lots of good sentences, but to my experience, this story seems to misunderstand real love. I like the writing style and will probably read more by Anton Chekhov, but the story is about two unlikable people, both married, that meets and starts an affair. Can't really enjoy short story like that, but the writing did interest me in other works by Chekhov. I understand what he wanted us to feel, but for me this just isn't right. I can't feel the romance. No, I can't find anything romantic in this at all. I didn't have pity on her too. What the hell? She's married and he's married. The story is beautiful, but it's really unbelievable. There are specific choices of words said by the major character or protagonist that filled me with wonder. What depth vision of a person that differs so much from the writers. How could the author develop such a vast spirit that could contain real characters to dive into such depth? Useless pursuits and conversations always about the same thing absorb the better part of one's time, the better part of one's strength. Chekhov writes such interesting complex characters who develop and change, who have moments of epiphany. Although with that, along with that, he has a way of writing that compels the reader to go on, ask questions and speculate. I did not like Gurov at the beginning. I did not know what I think of him, but I did not know what to think of him by the end. But Gurov, at the end, my speculation is that he will not marry Anna, and they will again have the breakup. They will not marry. You will be satisfied with his wife, and she will be satisfied with her husband. Only it is the sure relationship here, and actually this happens. What actually it may happen, let's say with this. And here are notable quotations. The story is very important literary piece by master short story writer Anton Chekhov, and in the world literature he has his special place, and many people while talking about the stories and the quotations and those important lines, these lines are often quoted. These are notable quotations. There was something touching about Anna Sergeyevna. She had the purity of a well-bred, naive woman who has seen little in life. Winter came into its own, and everything was still clear in his memory, as though he had parted from Anna Sergeyevna only yesterday, and his memories glowed more and more vividly. She glanced at him and turned pale, then looked at him again in horror, unable to believe her eye, and gripped the fan and the lorgnette tightly together in her hands, evidently trying to keep herself from fainting. He had two lives, an open one, seen and known by all who needed to know it, full of conversational truth and conventional falsehood, exactly like the lives of his friends and acquaintances, and another life that went on in secret. See, little woman, in no way remarkable, I lost in a provincial crowd with a vulgar lorgnette in her hand, filled his whole life now, was his sorrow and his joy, the one happiness that he now desired for himself, he thought and dreamed. Guilt and no guilt, these were the worst things. The only thing worse than the guilt was the fear of getting caught. So, they wanted to live together. They wanted to break the relationship with their former husband and former spouse, let us say. But the penal code and the law that prevents themselves from committing crime, and that would be the guilt or no guilt. They are afraid of getting caught, though they like to love, they like to break the tradition. Are they ready to go to the jail? That is my last question. Is Dmitri Gurov ready to go to jail in his 40s? Or will this lady Anna come to marry him and go to jail at this age when she is young? Perhaps not. But both of them have fear. They want, they are true lovers, but they cannot break the tradition. So, they are afraid of being caught, and Anna will go with her husband, Dmitri Gurov will go with his wife. That is all. With my discussion of The Lady with the Dog by Anton Chekhov, I am sure you got the points. If you have any queries, you can put your ideas in my comment box. Thank you very much for your patience and time. That is all.